Wow. I guess Tibbs does kind of know what he's doing. Knicks win. I don't even know what the score is off the top of my head. Knicks win 121-109 on the back of, Mr. RJ, R no J, bust Barrett, and some elite play from Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell, I swear to God, I feel like Mitch lost 15 pounds
Or like,
within
yeah,
the last like few
game.
days since the last game, because he was moving around like a completely different player. This is the Mitchell Robinson I remember. Uh, Good job, Tibbs. You clearly know the correct buttons to press because calling out RJ for not putting in the work on his jumper, all of a sudden he hit 7 of 8 threes. I mean, I feel like that's way too much of a coincidence, but I'm going to give Tibbs all the credit. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to take the credit because I was like, it's time to see what you can get in a trade
Yeah.
package for RJ and Mitch. All the real important stuff. Um, I'm not going to say that the Spurs are like a in particularly good team. We were kind of chatting about this in the Discord before we even came on.
Mhm.
They got like a bunch of like C plus players. Dejounte Murray's pretty good.
That's
I
it.
mean, if you can take, I would take Derek White off their hands. He's not too bad. Um, although he had like the worst plus minus out of everybody. But not he seems solid, not too bad. Maybe like a little upgrade of quickly, maybe I don't know. But it was a good win, a much needed win, and since even though we've been 0-3 coming into this game with the lineup change, I feel like Tibbs has finally hit on something, and we've kind of figured something out. Moo, talk to me, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good win. It's a win that I had to have, right? I win, yes. Kind of glass half empty. I mean, this is I mentioned it, right? I discorded you guys. This is probably the least talented team in the NBA right now. I mean, wow, this Spurs team. I'm amazed they beat the Warriors, and they had another game where they beat a top team, right? I'm amazed. I mean, that's uh, Pop should get Coach of the Year for coaching this. Like they're like a you know maybe a top 64 NCAA team. I don't know. Um, just not a lot of talent, and I think that fits right into what the Knicks' strength is. Right? They usually when they go up against a really top tier shot creator, right, that screws up their entire defense and everything starts kind of snowballing, going downhill. This was the team they could handle, right? So, I mean, I don't want to discredit anyone's performance, and several great performances, but this was a team that they can handle and they should have handled. And if they play the way they can, which, with Tibbs coaching them, I think, for the most part, they can handle teams like this. Their problem comes when you hit the elite top tier talent guys. But yeah, I mean, Mitch Robinson, he looked absolutely amazing. Um, I don't know. I don't watch the last game, so I don't know. Maybe it's been over a week, but this is the type of Robinson that the Knicks need. I think we saw the difference, right? Because Nerlens allowed block shots. Mitch Robinson blocks shots. But there's a huge difference between the two guys in terms of altering and intimidating, right? When Robinson was in the game, I mean the Spurs were not going to the basket. They were stopping, they were, picking up the dribble and they were passing it back out. And that's what's really swung the game for the Knicks. Robinson being in there and just intimidating and preventing the Spurs players from trying to drive to the basket. When Noel was in, they drove, right? If they got blocked again, I've said this before. With Noel in, yeah, he'll block a couple of shots, but players are not afraid of driving on him. They are when Robinson is in, especially Robinson looking this big, right? This is kind of like the perfect marriage of quick Robinson and, you know, big Robinson. Big
The
Mitch, quick Mitch. This is
Well,
this
they
is
said he's back down to 265. I think that's I mean, I think that's the key, right? He was I think
this
230, 240 last year, and now
right.
the 280 was
This
obviously too much.
right.
It's the
This
Goldilocks weight. It's the Goldilocks
this is
weight.
the perfect. Yeah, this is absolutely the perfect weight for him. If he can continue like this, I mean, this is a potential huge game changer for the Knicks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, his rookie year, he was the most impactful player on that team,
Hmm.
from advanced stats, and he is super talented. He can impact the game, but he's a little bit dumb, and he's been slow and fat this season.
Yeah, yeah.
And like a lot of us made jokes in the offseason about hearing his weight gain, about calling him fat, and it ended up being true. And I think the alarming thing too is because we're obviously 24 games into the season. You figured just like running up and back and forth on the basketball court for 20 minutes a night would help you get into shape.
Mhm.
I guess he needed to hit the elliptical and the bicycle, and that seemed to be the one thing that did the trick.
Yeah, I think I don't think he's necessarily has the best work ethic. They're just kind of seeing the way he is on the bench and whatnot, and he may not be the sharpest guy. Um,
He's not
but
he's not the brightest crayon on the
no,
box.
no, but they don't really need him to be, right? They need him to do what he did tonight. If he can do this game in and game out, this is huge, right? This is someone that can make up for the rest of the guys that are average, below average defensively, right?
Yeah,
So it's huge. I think definitely Mitch and RJ deserved the bulk of the credit, but
yeah,
you kind of also want to give it to the rest of the guys. Randall, right? He didn't force things.
yeah. He
He,
honestly, this is like the first time I feel like I've ever seen him
yeah.
really take a back seat because somebody else was hot.
Hmm.
He got his possessions, he got his post ups. I mean, he had two huge buckets on the baseline coming down the stretch of the game,
Right,
big shots.
right.
But yeah, he was very comfortable with playing off of RJ for a
Mhm.
lot of minutes tonight, and I think that's super key because it's like he can get into his head where he all of a sudden he starts creating turnovers, trying to do too much,
Mhm.
trying to like create all these mid range jumpers. I liked it a lot. I think a huge key thing for him: one turnover tonight, 8 assists.
Right. That's kind of. I think this is. You probably want a few more points, but again, within the flow, he didn't feel like he either had it or his teammates RJ was going, so feed him, right? So very good all around game for everybody. Again, it is kind of for me asterisk in a sense because the Spurs are just not a good team talent
Yeah.
wise, and the Knicks do well against teams like this. But
But this is, but we've lost games to the Magic. We had a nail biter against the Rockets.
true,
Although the Rockets have been playing better ever since
right?
Jalen Green has been out of the lineup. But I mean, that was what was so key about last year's team is
Mhm.
that the teams we were supposed to beat, we
We
beat them
beat,
up.
yeah,
You know,
yep,
we out effort them, we outplayed them, and I think let's hope that this is everybody trending in the right direction.
hmm
Obviously, I don't think you're going to get RJ Barrett to shoot 87.5% from three every single night, but just to see the jumper come around because he didn't finish great tonight, but he should have had that dunk on in transition, but it ended in a Rose three, so I'll forgive him.
right,
See, that
Smart
was
guy, he
actually
knew
that
that
was
a
actually
three.
a 4D chess move. He could have
Yeah,
gotten the dunk, but he knew that
yeah,
getting 3 points is better than two.
yeah,
absolutely. He absolutely knows that.
And speaking
yeah,
of, actually, fun fact. So coming into tonight, RJ was 31% on his threes. He went up a whole 3.7 percentage for the season. So he's now at
uh,
34.7, which, fun fact, is exactly league average.
right.
That's so crazy how much dramatically the 3 point percentage shot has dropped this year. Because like you said, what it's 34%,
34.7, yeah. Last year
thirty-four
was
point seven.
last year was 36.7. Year before that, 35.8.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because I mean, again, I had a feeling that last year might be a little bit of an outlier because we got to play in the empty arenas for a lot of the year. But I didn't think it'd be like this dramatic of a drop
No,
off.
I mean I think it's somewhere in that 35% range is probably his kind of sweet spot for now. So
Sure.
this season definitely he wasn't shooting good. He wasn't shooting as well as he should. Um, but
Well, I definitely expected RJ to take a step back because he was the type of 3-pointers he was taking were a little bit more diverse than the ones last year. Like, he's hit some step backs. He's hit some like running off around a screen. He's also like more out on the wings, as less in the corners. So like I expected a little bit of a step back. I just didn't expect this dramatic of a step back because he's shooting like 23% on threes if you exclude this last game and the last 13. Fred Katz had a really great article in The Athletic about pretty much how like everything has kind of dramatically fallen off. But he had a good game. I think about it like a week and a half ago where he was like 5 of 8 for 15 points or something like that. So like let's hope that this is finally him waking up because we need him to be good. We need him to be good.
Yeah, we need him to be really good, right? Because if you look at the lineup, Randall is as it is Randall, and you need someone that is, at least somewhat closer to him that can share the load. And Knicks really don't, it's not Fournier. He's been having a really bad season. IQ's off the bench. Rose is a bench player. Burks should be a bench player that's starting as a point guard, right? So Barrett really is that number 2, the closest thing they have. So I think, maybe that factored into his play and he's pressing a little bit, right? He's still a really young guy. Hopefully he could.
Fascinating enough is his usage was like in his hot streak in the first 9 games or so, his usage was exactly the same. He was just missing open shots. So, like, I don't know if it's just like a thing that he's just gotten into his head a little bit. Maybe, he's feeling a little pressure because now there's some expectations. But you know what? This is big because I think this is only his third 30-point game in his career. If I know that
correct.
off the top of his head. So, like, this is a big game, and we need more games like this from him.
Yeah,
it's not like how he scored in the Pelicans game where he was taking everybody off the dribble and hitting step back threes and stuff like that. But you know what? I'll take 7 threes on catch and shoots from anybody.
I mean, some of it had to do with the Spurs. I noticed that they left him open a lot, which is kind of uncharacteristic, I think, for a Spurs team. To be leaving 3-point shooters. So I don't know if the game plan,
that had to be the scheme.
Right.
Yeah, I think the game plan was if somebody's gonna shoot, let it be RJ because he's not shooting well, and then he does shoot well.
Yeah.
If it were the other way around, we'd be talking about how these scrubs always go off against us.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you shoot 22% in a month. It's really bad. I think he might have been the worst on the amount of shot attempts he took. There's only 122 players that took as many shot attempts. He was the last in field goal percentage.
So it seems to me that he just goes through really cold stretches, especially to start. So last year, through his first 22 games, he was only shooting 27% on just under 4 games. But then 22 games this season, he's shooting 5 a game, hitting 31% of them. So he's starting off better than he was last year before his really hot streak. So maybe he just takes a month or so to get going. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna obviously, like I said last time, we can't have any players like go cold for a month. You know what I mean? Like, that's not great. But as long as he eventually comes out of the funk, that's the thing that matters the most.
Also, you guys want to know a fun fact? So we were talking about 3-point percentages earlier. This year at 34.7 would be the lowest 3-point percentage since 1999.
Yeah, I believe it. That's why I always think that I don't know how much it really matters, but I feel like the change in ball does matter a little bit because I just don't think that I just don't think it's a coincidence that you're like that's just 22 years, 23 years, and it's the lowest 3-point shooting percentage in that amount of time.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, it has. I do want to point out that it's going between 34.7 and 36.7. That's the low and high mark here, and it has hit 34.7 once since 1999. So it's not like it's just
is that 2003?
2004, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, 2003 was 34.9, so close.
Yes, I saw like some stat muse thing on Twitter, and they were like, since LeBron's first year in the league, the 3-point percentage has never been this low. And all the comments were like, what does LeBron have to do with this? Like, why'd you pick that as the the
Well,
frame of
it's kind of like
reference?
to I think that's to like to date it. It's like since 2003, since LeBron got here. I don't know. Same difference.
BL and AL before LeBron and after LeBron.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure before MJ and after MJ, I'm sure it was a thing too. All
But
right,
actually, interestingly enough, I'm sorry for cutting you off here. The offensive rating this year is lower than the last 3 years, but it's the same as it was in 2018. The average offensive rating league. So 3-point percentage is down, but and so his offense from last year, but it's not like super low compared to previous years. You know what I mean?
I still always think that the sweet spot was like 2011, 2012. Those first years of the Heatles, I felt like the NBA was like in a perfect spot. There was like it wasn't like a complete three.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't like a complete 3-point contest. There was a lot of like more mid range and post up stuff like that. I always felt like that was the happy medium, but that's my thought on that. So, we have another game tomorrow against Indiana, which is always kind of weird that they would put it back to back like this on the road. Like you figured that they would send us to like Houston or Dallas.
Yeah, that's odd.
Indiana.
That's a trek.
Yeah, shame on you, NBA schedulers.
And of course, Tibbs played the starters, right, all the way through. So
yeah, I mean. The thing is that there was like 2.5 minutes left when Pop pulled the starters, and you were like, "Yeah, Tibbs, you should totally do that." And then next thing you know, it's still a 10-point game, and you're like,
"Yeah, Tibbs doesn't trust you."
Yeah, I don't blame them, but at the same time, it was like, what if RJ played 36 minutes instead of 30, almost 39? Would that have made that big of a difference? I guess I don't know. I'm not an athlete, or I was an athlete.
Well, I don't think.
Anymore.
Well, for me, it's not that. It's not that. It's that if someone gets hurt in that time, it looks really bad.
Yeah,
like I'm a big UConn fan, and I watch our women's team. And Paige Beckers got injured with like 40 seconds to go, up like 20 the other night, and she's out for 2 months. So it's like that's just like that's kind of asinine at that point.
Yeah, but also it's like I feel like injuries are such freak occurrences that like
it's one of those things where it could happen at any time, but it just happens at this time. It looks really bad. You look really stupid if it happens in that time. Any other time, if it doesn't happen, you look like fine.
Yeah, when Mitch went down after Eubanks, whatever his name is, tackled him, I was like, oh no.
That was a straight up goon squad mood.
That's a goon, right? He's a goon. So.
Yeah. That was like somebody you sent in. Like, what is it called in hockey? There's like the one guy that they always send in to like hurt people.
The big guy with the missing front teeth, and the only thing is to hit people. Don't even worry about what the puck is.
They have a term. I don't follow hockey as much as I used to, but they used to have a term for that, and that's what Eubanks was tonight. He just truck Mitch for no reason whatsoever. Hopefully the lower back's fine, because we saw what happened with Dennis Smith Jr. with a back injury. It just completely zapped who he was as a person.
I mean, the good thing is he looked good and he hit 2 free throws. After,
right. Yeah.
Right. So that doesn't happen.
That's not something.
Often.
Right. That was what I was just about to say. Mitch is usually
maybe it knocked his shooting form into.
Speaking of free throws, I found a really fun fact for you guys, because I'm looking at the league averages by year. This year, the free throws per field goal attempt is .177, meaning almost 18 free throws per 100 field goals.
Mm-hmm.
That is the second lowest mark in NBA and BAA history. Only 1947 had a lower free throw to field goal attempt ratio.
You expect it to be lower, but not this low.
Yeah,
right? But that's surprising, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the rule change, even though Quickly got one tonight where he pulled up and stopped in front of somebody. But yeah, I'm kind of shocked that it's had this big of an effect. But I'm enjoying watching them play.
Yeah, as long as it's fair, I don't care if it's hard hitting, right? So
Right. I mean, that's what Tibbs. And funny enough, Tibbs after the Brooklyn game and Julius did not end up getting fined. They both went after
yeah,
the
I think they
refs.
realized.
Yeah, so I think the league realized they screwed up, which is kind of unheard of because usually even if they like because have their mea culpa, which they did in the 2 minute report, they usually still hit them with a fine anyway.
Right. Right.
So maybe they just were able to say it in the most politically correct way that it didn't warrant a fine, but yeah, good.
As long as that message gets to the refs, right, and they realize, you know what, it's a new season, new rules, and you got to stop it with the, hey, it's the Nets and that's KD and it's Harden, so anytime anybody breathes on them, it's a foul, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why refs get that into their heads, to begin with, but
Right.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like go too far down the Nets rabbit hole, but I remember one play specifically where Fournier was just standing there with his arms straight up. Harden like went into his chest, not like even like ran into him like Harden's known to do, and just made a layup. It was like like not even a bang bang play, and they called a foul on it. I was just like, there was like no contact there. I'm like, I don't care what you say. But yeah, and then you see RJ gets mauled all the time, and he just gets nothing.
I mean, it's the same thing I think with Randall because they're both kind of strong guys and they take hits and
yeah,
you know.
You figured those were the guys. You figured that those would be the guys that would get the fouls. You know, the guys that just get like that blow through people. But whatever. I don't know.
That's like what Shaq said. Shaq said that refs used to tell him that every time he touched the ball, he was getting fouled, and they can't keep calling that. So
yeah,
his response was that if that's the case, then you need to make sure teams feel it when you foul them, when they foul you, so they would stop. So
facts.
Yep.
All right, should we do scrub of the night?
Yeah. I'll pick the entire Spurs team. No, just kidding. I mean, again, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to pick anyone. I think in general, the scrub is just the collective guys. Most of the guys that are on the Spurs.
Collective blob that is the Spurs.
Collective blob. Yeah, I mean, I think they said the Spurs bench was second in the NBA in points. That's just kind of amazing because that starting lineup is just brutal, and then the bench is even worse. So I mean, you have to give credit. I think they play in true Pops tradition, great system ball.
Yeah.
So the guys know exactly what they're doing. You don't have to expect to do too much, and if you lose, you lose. But you play the game that's within the context of what you can do, right? And it turns out well, more well than you would expect, right? So that's kind of definitely credit to Pops. It's kind of the same thing with Tibbs, right? Coaches that can make the sum better than the individual parts, you have to give them credit for it. So
we're right now we are 12-12, and we are looking at 11th place in the Eastern Conference.
That's the East right now. It can mean any number of things. And you could say that we talked about treadmills a lot in the forum.
Yeah.
This is a big treadmill in the East, right? There's a difference though. You're not top end of the treadmill, the bottom end. And what is your ability to project out going forward next few years? Can you take a step, maybe, one step, so you're standing on top of the treadmill, or are you just, fooling yourself and should just get off?
So listen to how much parity there is in the East right now. So the Toronto Raptors are 12. They are 2.5 games back behind Miami at 4.
Right. Exactly.
Crazy. That's crazy that you 2 games and for the Knicks, we are 1.5. We're 1.5 behind Miami. So like in 2 games, theoretically, we could be 4th in the East.
So right now, the Knicks are technically out of the playoffs or in? Like
we are not. We are out of the play. We would be in the lottery if the season ended today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what pick we would have though.
Probably the worst.
Well, yeah,
possible.
that's why it's a lottery, Jim.
We'd probably
with
such an ass, Kyle.
with the Knicks luck, they'd have the lowest percentage.
Yeah, I would think because I'm looking at the Western Conference, and we would definitely. Although I don't know if because we would be out of the play-in game.
Yeah, we would we would have the least number of.
As of right now, we are the 12th worst odds.
Well, okay.
Cleveland and Atlanta are the only teams ahead of us in terms of like they have worse odds than us.
Right. Okay.
Because like right now, like the Mavericks are I'm gonna go with the 9th team. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 9th in the West at 11 and 13, but they're in the play-in. So I'm like, would we theoretically you would think that they would be behind us because they're technically in the playoffs, but at the same time they have
it doesn't
a worse
work like
record
that.
than us.
I think it goes by record at the end of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, even though they're 9th and in the play-in game, and we are 11th. They could theoretically have a higher pick than us, which I think is messed up. I think it should go by, where you fall in your conference and then record, but whatever. The NBA, I trust them to figure that out, and not for us.
Yeah, I know. I think for the Knicks standpoint, right? They're not bad enough to really start. If they want to do that, then do you really need Tibbs here? What do you need him for? Right. Do you need this? It's a whole bunch of things. I mean, they can, whatever. They're not going to tank. With Tibbs, and he's not going to tank. He's not a tanking coach, and I don't think the Knicks are looking to tank. But even if you do tank, is this? I don't know. Right. I haven't really been following the upcoming draft. This is not considered. It's not a weak one, but I don't think it's considered a really strong one either. Right.
Yeah, it's certainly not last year's draft. I don't with Cade and Jalen Green and Mobley and all those guys.
Right.
But I think it's definitely better than the Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly draft.
I was gonna say I think the 2020 draft is a pretty decent comparison for that. In that there's some pretty interesting guys going high, like Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, but it doesn't look especially deep.
Right. Which, yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Jalen Hardy looks pretty good. There's a couple other guys. I don't know if they're like super household names yet. Like last year, we kind of like knew who all the guys were in the top 5 before even the draft even happened. So I think there could be some intriguing people, but I would say it's definitely somewhere in between the last two.
There's no clear franchise altering guy. Right. That's not in this draft.
Banchero and Holmgren are arguably. Chet Holmgren is arguably a better prospect than Evan Mobley.
Right.
Arguably. And Paolo Banchero is arguably a franchise player.
Okay.
He looks... When you talk about his skill set, he sounds amazing. He just has to put it all together.
Yeah. Jabari Smith is another kid that's pretty good.
He's pretty... Jabari Smith is pretty raw, though. I saw him get bodied by UConn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Who's your guy on UConn? You said it was pretty good.
Oh yeah, no, we got a few people. They're not coming out this year though.
Okay.
Yeah. Jordan Hawkins is like I'm pegging him as the next Buck Knight. Like he's a freshman, super talented scorer, but he's just not ready yet. So maybe he'll come out next year. But the guy with the most potential is Andre Jackson. He's a New Yorker. Oh, nice. He's super athletic, plays really hard on defense, 6'6", used to be a point guard, so he kind of has those skills. He has a really high ceiling, but he's very, very raw.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably obviously do some draft shows when that time eventually comes.
Sure.
That our draft night show, which was pretty hilarious as well. All right, I guess
that'd be interesting. When is the trade deadline?
It's February, I think.
Okay.
Well, I think in the next 7-8 days, I think it's 12.
December 15th.
December 15th, we can start trading players that we signed this summer.
Okay, that's a key date.
Yeah, so Evan have fun and Kemba have fun in Indiana. and we'll take Miles Turner. Thanks. I mean, so I don't know if you guys heard that. It sounds like the Pacers are pulling the plug. So that's another
Yeah,
reason why we should definitely lose tomorrow or win tomorrow. Um, would you be interested in Karis LeVert, Domantas Sabonis, or Miles Turner?
Yeah.
Which one?
I
All of them.
all of them, any of them. I don't know what's going on in Indiana. But it could be a fit thing. I mean, they're kind of also in. I don't want to say the Knicks range because they're more talented, I think, overall. But they don't have that true number one, and I don't think that they have a real identity with what that team is.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of pulling the plug early, but whatever, it'll work. If it works in the Knicks' favor, and go for it. I think they have a lot of guys that can help the Knicks. The question is, do the Knicks have enough to get the guys that they need?
Yeah.
I don't know. They have a lot of
Karis
draft picks.
LeVert is like if RJ Barrett were 6 years older and worse. So I'm not so and more expensive. So I'm not too sure about why we'd want him.
Mm-hmm.
I would think. I don't know what his contract looks like, but it would be not. I would like to swap.
He has 1 year left after this year for $19 million.
Okay.
19 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be one of those things where it's like, oh, if we could swap Fournier or Burks for LeVert, I feel like that would be an upgrade. But I don't know.
That'd be an upgrade, but you'd have to give up, quite a bit of assets, draft picks,
I don't
or
know.
whatever.
I don't know. I don't know why they would want that. I mean,
I don't think they would, right? Because LeVert was the main get for them trading.
Oladipo.
Yeah. Was it Oladipo?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like,
Oh yeah.
Sabonis can't really defend. He's obviously the best of the three, and I don't know. I don't know how he would necessarily fit here, and I'm not really sure what I would want to give up for Turner because Turner is definitely an upgrade over Mitch and Noel, and would
Not tonight's turn. Not tonight's Mitch.
Not tonight's Mitch. But I think the big difference is that he stretches the floor and he's hitting threes at 40%. I think this year. So that would be nice. Play five out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brogdon is interesting if they're willing to not take much.
Apparently,
we can't trade for Brogdon. No,
can they not?
No, okay. Because the reason why December 15th is like the day is because that's when it lines up with the contracts being signed. I think it's 3 months. Right. So the way when Brogdon signed his extension, it's 3 months from that date, which I think goes past the trade deadline.
Oh, that sucks. Okay. Gotcha.
All right, interesting.
Then that's kind of. I mean, yeah. Then maybe that's not as great as we thought it was, because if we factor in everything, I would think that Brogdon would probably be available for the least out of the four guys.
Yeah, I mean he's certainly got the longest contract, and
right.
he would fit the biggest need for us.
Right, but if he can't be traded, then I think that's Brogdon. If he's healthy, he's not top tier, but he's he's a starter, and he's better than whatever we got. Right, clearly. So
yeah, I wonder if we'd be able to be like, all right, Grimes, McBride, and Rokas, and like a pick for like LeVert, or like obviously ideally it would be Brogdon because you pencil him right into the starting lineup.
Yeah,
and he's a knockdown shooter and whatnot. But like obviously he can't be traded. So like I wonder if that would be enough to pry like Brogdon or LeVert.
I mean Turner and LeVert. I don't think the Knicks have enough assets to get both.
No.
But if they could get both and keep their core guys, I mean that's an upgrade in talent.
Yeah.
Versatility.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's like what would they want? Like OB or IQ is probably what they're gonna ask. Like I just feel
OB,
like you're not
IQ, all the draft picks, and
yeah, or like is Grimes and Mitch and Rokas something? I don't know, and some picks obviously on top of that, like a first and 2 seconds. I don't know if that's something for them or not.
So I have to issue a slight correction. So first of all, the trade deadline is February 10th, and apparently the thing about Brogdon is when you sign an extension, if it's past a certain point, like if it's more than a certain amount, instead of being tradable in 3 months, it becomes 6 months. So that's what happened there.
Okay. Interesting how the CBA works.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys have any final thoughts on this game?
Not about this game, but I don't know if you guys. I didn't realize Luka not only won the Player of the Week in the G League, but he had crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah,
like
he's
31 point average. Yeah, and that's that's better than Nate.
So
Robin's
I
numbers.
have to say, as someone who watched some G League games with Luka doing that, I don't know. I feel like I definitely watch it and feel, he really can't play as a center. So we're really gonna. He really has to play at the 4, and he's just gonna get buried behind Randall and then Obi. I just don't know. I think it's just another case of the G League, inflating stats. Like I watched Miles McBride too. I think with him, he looks like he's definitely gonna struggle to create penetration in the league right now.
Mhm.
But he's doing it in the G League somewhat. So you just watch him. Yeah, Luka put up crazy numbers in the G League, but I don't think a lot of that's transferable to the NBA right now. I think it's just him being like, more experienced guy in the G League. Bigger, stronger, faster. Talented enough.
They say in baseball it's called quadruple A, where it's like you're too good for triple A, but you're not really a major leaguer. I feel like that's probably what Miles and Luka Samanic are. They're like quadruple A players, NBA style.
Mm.
But who knows? We'll see. Maybe Luka will get a call up.
Yeah, if they make a move, I mean, I think it'll be interesting whether this front office are ballsy enough to start making moves. Right, some front offices, some GMs, they're aggressive. Right? They'll take a chance, and they'll more often than not make the right decision. Yeah.
I definitely think they're interested in Miles Turner. I mean, there's been rumblings for a while now since pretty much Rose has been hired that there's been interest there. So we're definitely going to kick the tires on that. How serious is that? That's a good question.
Would you guys be interested in keeping Mitch and adding Turner?
Not particularly.
Okay.
Yeah. Mitch is the guy that I would want to see if they would take him.
Maybe they wouldn't take him though. That's the thing.
Right.
Like I said, everybody's making up scenarios where we trade this package centered around Mitch for Miles. It's like no, they're gonna want Grimes, McBride, Rokas, first round picks. That's what they're gonna want because they're rebuilding. But on the plus side though, we might be able to take Duarte off their hands. Because he's only a year younger than Sabonis and Turner. So he's not really a young player anymore, is he?
Yeah,
but that's the thing. Maybe
the whole thing is a contract thing.
Maybe they can move Mitch to some other team for something. Because I think, if he he's got 2 more months until the trade deadline. I mean, if he could continue playing like this and the Knicks feel that, we still don't trust him enough and, we don't, with his injury history and what he might be, his 7th or 8th agent might be looking for it in a contract. Maybe his value skyrockets and they could get something. And then if they do Turner at around the same time, you get Turner and someone else. So
yeah, I just don't see how you sign Mitch for a lot of money. And I think Turner is at like 18 or 19 million. Again,
how many years does he have left?
He has 1 more after this year.
Okay,
so this year and next. So Mitch is still young and solid. If you get I could see somebody may be interested in giving him a contract. Maybe you give him 4 years, $45 million. Something
Mitch,
like that.
I would think. How much is what's his name in Atlanta making?
Capella's $20 million, I think.
20-something million, right? Yeah, Mitch is definitely not that.
Yeah, Capella's way better than Mitchell Robinson.
Right.
Yeah, it's not comparable.
I think
Capella's on a 5-year, $90 million. So
it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's 17 this year, gets up to 22 in his last year.
I think Mitch is probably like what, about 3 or 4 million at least less per year.
Definitely.
But you never know, right? You just need one crazy GM to.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that was the one thing. And I remember being like, oh, like Mitch is just as good as Jared Allen and just as good as Capella, and there's definitely a gap of talent.
See, that's the thing, though, is that he was at one point, but he isn't anymore.
Yeah.
Like, especially his rookie year, he was that good.
Yeah. Alas, I guess there's not a lot more crying we can do over spilt Mitchell Robinson talent.
No, let's just hope that for however long he's with the team that he continues to play. Tonight's Mitch is the new Mitch, and the Goldilocks Mitch. And now I have image of him with gold locks on his.
Yeah, Goldilocks Mitch. Yeah, I'm coining it now. I wish I tweeted it out already.
Yep.
But yeah, good stuff from Mitchell Robinson. Oh well, Kyle, do you have any final thoughts before I wrap this thing up?
It's going to be the same thing I was saying on the board, is that the worst part about this game is that Tibbs is going to look at it and be like, aha, the real reason we won is Nerlens Noel starting, when really it should be, the fix is putting Rose in the starting lineup for one of Burks, Fournier, or RJ. That's the move. That's what we need to do. But for some reason, we're not doing it.
Did they say why they inserted Noel?
Because we weren't winning, and that was entirely it. He was just trying to do something, I guess.
Well, I think a 5-man rotation. I saw this online earlier today. A 5-man lineup with Mitch swapping Noel from Mitch. I think is like a 3-point swing. I think they're like negative 1.5 with Mitch, and they're like a plus 1.3 with Noel.
Not after tonight, right?
Probably not after tonight, but that was just within the games this season, and it was like based over like 100 minutes each. I don't remember the exact off the top of my head.
I mean, this was definitely Mitch's best game, right? This season, and maybe since his rookie season, I think.
He had some good games last year, I would feel like, but yeah, this was definitely his best. I 100% agree with
overall,
you. Best game,
right?
Yeah.
So maybe the benching woke him up. Just like whatever happened to RJ woke him up, and we'll see tomorrow night. I think that's an important one. The Pacers are more talented than the Spurs, but they're also more of a mess right now. So I think it's another team that they should be able to beat, right?
Yeah, I mean they're the same type of team as the Spurs. They're a bunch of C+B guys, probably a little bit more talented, but not that much. So. Yeah, if we win these 2 games back to back, we're back on track to being, a little bit better than 500, which is what we need. Great bounce back game from RJ Barrett, probably the second best game of the season for him, maybe the second best game of his career. I think it's questionable, but good stuff. Knicks win. We'll be back here tomorrow, and we'll talk a little bit Knicks versus the Pacers. Hopefully Reggie Miller doesn't call this game. And that's another episode of the No Blood, No Foul